Welcome to A New Spirituality, a space where we explore the timeless wisdom of conversations with God and take a journey together toward greater peace, freedom, and understanding. I'm Trisha Lee.
And I'm Wes. Here we'll go chapter by chapter, diving deep into the ideas shared in these profound books. Our hope is to inspire conversations that open hearts and minds to the idea of God as a loving, ever-present force in all of life, a God who is with us everywhere, always, and in all ways.
We believe that God is the very essence of love, creativity, and life itself. We are a divine expression of the I Am, just as a wave is a part of the ocean. These books invite us to challenge old paradigms and consider a new spirituality, one rooted in compassion, unity, and the grandest vision of the greatest version of ourselves.
We know these are bold and, at times, controversial topics, especially for those from Bible-based traditions. But our intention is not to criticize or invalidate anyone's beliefs. Instead, we hope to share a message of love and inclusion, one that uplifts and empowers.
Through this podcast, we'll explore what it means to live in alignment with God as love and to raise awareness around our oneness as humanity. Together, we'll dive into how these teachings can help us create a life of purpose, joy, and connection.
So whether you're a seeker, a believer, or just curious, we invite you to join us every Sunday as we unpack these ideas and explore the boundless possibilities of living a life guided by love and truth.
Let's step into this journey together with open hearts and open minds as we discover the new spirituality that we came here to remember.
A weekly podcast that explores conversations with God, chapter by chapter, blending readings, personal reflections, and open discussion to cultivate awareness of divine love and one consciousness. Each episode becomes a spiritual session aimed at uplifting, inspiring, and connecting listeners to a deeper sense of self and God.
Think of it as a meaningful way to nurture your spiritual connection throughout the week, reminding us that a relationship with God is far greater than 2 hours on a Sunday. It's a daily journey of love and awareness. Welcome to A New Spirituality.
Chapter 1 Summary. Conversations with God, Book 1. God reveals a profound truth. He speaks to everyone all the time. The real question is not to whom God speaks, but who listens. Communications from God occurs through multiple channels, feelings, thoughts, and experiences, all designed to guide us toward our highest truth. Feeling is the language of the soul. Hidden in our deepest feelings lies our greatest truth. Yet, while feelings are a powerful communicator, God also speaks through thoughts, often using images and pictures, which can be more effective than words. However, thought and feeling are not the same, even though they may occur simultaneously. Beyond these, experience becomes the grandest communicator. When we ignore the lessons from our experiences, we find ourselves reliving them repeatedly. God clarifies that our highest thoughts, clearest words, and grandest feelings come from Him. These can be recognized by their qualities: joy, highest thought; truth, clearest words; and love, grandest feeling. Anything less arises from another source. A pivotal message in this chapter is about free will. God emphasizes that we all have the power to choose our path, and He will never take that freedom away. Yet, He also notes that inward experience reveals God's essence more than outward observation. When we look outside ourselves for validation, we miss the deeper connection that comes from within.
God addresses the nature of prayer and manifestation. When we ask for something, we're often coming from a place of lack, inadvertently reinforcing that lack in our reality. Instead, the correct prayer is one of gratitude, not supplication. By expressing gratitude for what already is, we align with the reality we desire. God does not decide the events of our lives. Rather, we do, using the power He has given us. Every thought, feeling, and belief is created and shapes our experience. God further explains that all human actions are rooted in either fear or love. Fear contracts, hides, and hoards, while love expands, reveals, and gives. This duality shapes not only our personal relationships, but also our choices in business, politics, and society. We often project conditional love into our relationships because we learned from our parents that love comes with conditions. We've forgotten what it's like to be loved unconditionally, and thus we struggle to imagine God's pure love. The chapter explores how we were created in God's image, not in physical form, but in essence and creative power. Just as God created the universe, we too have the ability to create our realities. However, to truly understand ourselves as divine, we must first experience the opposite: separation, fear, and limitation. This contrast allows us to remember who we truly are. Finally, God reassures us that there is no eternal damnation or hell as described in fear-based theologies. Hell is the experience of being disconnected from our highest self, knowing our potential yet failing to live it. But this suffering is self-created, not imposed by God. Self-realization is heaven, the recognition that we are creators of our reality with unlimited potential. God concludes by encouraging us to seek change, not because something is wrong, but because it no longer aligns with who we choose to be. Life is a journey of remembering and becoming, and God is always communicating through every experience, thought, and feeling, if only we choose to listen. Okay, so this summary brings up a couple of different things for me and for Wes. So for me, it brings up the fact of imagination, right? So we're talking about how God is showing up in thoughts, feelings, right? And then words being the last, basically loudest form, right? So for me, it's like whenever you think about imagination, I think of just all of the different times that we have these great, amazing ideas. A lot of times they show up for me like in the middle of the night, right? Or I remember last year when I was out in the garden and I kept hearing this voice saying, "You're not listening, you're not listening." And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, well, number one, who's talking to me, right? And then the second piece of it is like, okay, now I need to listen because these words are really loud. I hear them so loudly. And so when you do listen, you use your imagination in different ways. And most of the time, the imagination is going to be operating in some sort of fashion to help other people remember why they are here, right? And so my second thought on this is the whole idea of manifestation, right? If you basically, like Neville Goddard even talks about this in his books, but you should pray in gratitude, right? You should act as if your wish has already been fulfilled. And it's just like in the Bible when it says, ask and it is given. So it's so obvious that we shouldn't be praying in these ways of asking for things when we are creating our lives. We have the free will, like it said, and we are able to basically take action to make these things happen and then praise God and thank Him in gratitude for them happening.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you bring up imagination and the time frames for it, I mean, when you're really open to it and clearing your head, I think we were just talking the other day about the moments, at least for me, when I'm out on a long drive, when I'm out on a run, I mean, there's those moments that you find that your head is the most clear and you're in that space of just being able to just open your mind up to something, and be able to imagine, and get into that creative space. So, it's one of the things that brings to mind for me as well, and of course, gratitude, I mean, I think it takes a lot of weight off your shoulders. I mean, when you sit in gratitude instead of sitting in this place of, somebody's out to get me, I'm a victim of some sort, so, I mean, just the act alone of expressing gratitude for what you have, even in the simplest of forms. I mean, the air we breathe, the fact that we woke up today, and I mean, there's so much for every one of us to be grateful for. And in some cases, the contrast that was mentioned there, that's one of the things you can also be grateful for, because that contrast teaches you, to get into a space of finding something, on the other end of the spectrum. So, yeah, I mean, definitely opens up my mind to a lot of different thoughts in this first summary.
So another cool thing in this chapter is it talks about the traditional like heaven and hell from a religious standpoint. And one of the things that I have experienced in my life, and I call it the unified field, and it's like this place of just pure perfection. You feel this for momentarily in your life, and it is like heaven on earth, right? So it's like this place, you create that heaven, right? You create the hell. If you're living in hell, both those are right here as humans. You create them in the here and the now, however you're perceiving and however you're suffering and however you're reacting from different things that happen in your life. So this is a totally different view on heaven and hell than the traditional religious standpoint. But if you could have heaven while you're here, why wouldn't you choose that?
No, absolutely. And I mean, it also speaks again to the contrast. I mean, contrasting heaven versus hell. I mean, if we are not to experience, what we believe or feel maybe the darkest moments in our lives or in our experience, how can we really know what heaven is and know what heaven feels like? So why would we not have both of those opportunities to experience those things here while being in control of creating those things and knowing that I may be in a hellish moment, quote unquote, but I can find my way into a heaven-like moment, through the things we've talked about already, through being grateful for what you have in your life, So absolutely, I 100% agree. I mean, these are all things that just come with our experience and how we choose to carry forward, in a positive or unfortunately a negative way.
Absolutely. Inner peace. Inner peace. All right, that was the summary of chapter 1 and our discussion. We challenge you to put your thoughts in the comments.